Okay, welcome to the Trails Committee meeting, November 21st. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:36 p.m. We'll do a roll call. Let me know that you're here. Tom McCoolier,
Here.
Satyendra Sharma,
Here.
Will Warren,
Here.
and Kat McKee here. Okay, so thanks for your time tonight. Did everyone get my email with the attachments? Thank you, Sati, for drafting those minutes. And do you want me to bring those up to share?
Yeah.
Bring them up? Or did you get them? What was the yes to?
I got them.
Okay.
I got them.
Okay. So do we have any? Let's take the 10:23 minutes first. Are there any questions, edits?
No.
Okay. Okay. And for the 11:07, any questions, comments, or edits?
No.
Okay. Great. So I'll make a motion for the committee to approve the 10:23 and the 11:07 minutes. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Will. And all in favor, Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Will Warren,
Aye.
Kat McKee. Yes. Motion passes. Thank you both. Oh, okay. So our agenda is somewhere. I had it up, but now it's gone. Sati, do you have the agenda up by any chance for your minutes? Sent it to you.
No, I didn't have. I don't have any.
Okay, let me send it. Sorry.
No problem. I mean,
I was organized, then I wasn't, and now
I can work without it.
because of the connectivity. Okay, Sati, I'm sending it to you. Okay, I think that's why it's in Word. That's why. Okay, so next up is the Peninsula Trail Phase 1, Mass Trails Grant Project Update, Signage, Grant Extension, and Paving. So there is a lot that has happened since the last meeting, and we had really great momentum. So I will start with the paving, and to catch Tom up a little bit, is we reached out to 3 firms and had 2 non-responsives and 1 responsive. And Asphalt Engineering was the paving firm that reached out with a quote. So the committee voted to move forward with them. And they come highly recommended from a local contractor also that works with them. So I was pleased to hear that they had a good reputation. So a few things we needed to do is we got the prevailing wage requirement taken care of, which is just issuing a form to the state. There's a little bit of a week delay with that because the first time I submitted it, it did not go through. So the state called me back. I connected with them last Friday. I resubmitted and they quickly turned that around the same day, which was really nice of them. So we do have that. So I asked Melanie and Mark to come up with a contract for them. That went out on Tuesday. And then we just got the contract back today from Asphalt Paving, and they had redlined a provision, an insurance provision for professional liability insurance. And if you're familiar or not, there's several insurances businesses carry, right? And typically you're looking for general liability, you're looking for workers' comp, auto, an umbrella policy, sometimes cybersecurity, not in this case. And on occasion, you'll need professional liability. Professional liability being more errors and omissions, and it's related to like consulting and engineering services where you're providing advice and expertise in that way. And so they do not have professional liability. So the lawyer kicked it back and said, we need that insurance. And so we went back and forth today and towards the end of the day. So we don't have resolution now. I don't know what the resolution is, but we were all set to go. I did a site visit with asphalt today with Bill Cundiff, the DPW superintendent, and with Travis Farley from the recreation director, and everything's a go, right? We have good weather next week. They were able to do it before Thanksgiving. Everything's looking good. We got, the vendor set up, ready to go. So now we don't know if we're ready to go because of this delay. I put an argument out there that, they have all the other relevant insurance. It has to do a little bit with ARPA money and the requirements there. So I don't know what the town will decide to do. We have two options, or maybe more, but for right now, the idea was we need this job done. We need to encumber the funds this year and ideally get the job done this year. So we're done with the ARPA funds. Worst case scenario, if we can't, we need to encumber the funds regardless or lose them, reallocate them. And so that, if at this late stage, like if we are delayed any further, the paving season is limited. You need 40 degrees and rising temperatures is what asphalt will work with. And we have that next week. Any later than that, the weather is going to be fickle and potentially not available.
One question. So you're saying that the holdup is they don't have professional insurance?
Professional liability, it's a specific type of liability insurance. They have general liability, they have an umbrella policy, they have workers' comp, they have all the insurances they need. This is
what would professional liability for a paving contractor look like? What would it cover?
How much you mean cost wise? Your audio cut out. I can't hear you.
What kind of things would it cover? It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
It doesn't. Because I work for a consulting firm and we give, we have an analysis and consulting that we, opinions and perspectives that we provide. So for us, it's more important to have errors and omissions. And we're not in the construction business. So, that's, I don't know how it's, you can just do a quick search of how it's used. We don't need to get into a long discussion about it, but it's, for negligence, malpractice, errors and omissions while providing professional services. This is a contractor who's providing, building and kind of physical services. So it's a little different. So I tried to make the argument that because we had hired an engineering firm to do the design plans, and they do need errors and omissions for their business, that's certainly where it's relevant, that because that firm did the design plans and this company is only doing the implementation, they're not making design decisions, that the professional liability wouldn't necessarily be needed in this case, right? So it's going to be a town decision, and they're going to have to decide on what they want to do and move forward.
When you say a town decision, when will that decision actually be made and by whom?
Well, I'm hoping it needs to be made tomorrow morning.
Well, thank goodness you don't have a short fuse on that one.
Yeah, it needs to be done tomorrow. Everyone's really been amazing. Melanie in the town has really rocked it and got everything done quickly. The lawyer's been very responsive. So we're really grateful to everyone for being very available to help us move this through on a quick timeline. And that's an important piece that should not be overlooked. But I really hope there's a path forward. I've asked for help to find a path forward. So hopefully we'll have an answer tomorrow. Now, worst case scenario, the insurance can't be bypassed and there's no options. We could potentially, I don't know if sometimes you can buy an insurance like a rider or an add-on for a specific project. It would be, then the cost would be transferred to the project. I don't know for professional liability how fast that could happen, if that's even realistic in this case. So we'll have to see, because if this firm can't do the work, then our next step is one, we're not going to get the work done this year, but we need another paving company who has professional liability, which might be hard to find. We need another company to provide us a quote this year so we can encumber the funds and like
So this is a stipulation by the town council.
let me just be very clear. It's the attorney said it's required by the state's regulations for all LLC companies to have professional liability. Even if we do not require a certificate of insurance from them showing professional liability, the contract's subject to audit due to ARPA funding. So ARPA is involved in the requirements too. So we just, we have to.
Well, I'm pretty shocked that ARPA has any requirements considering what the ARPA funds have been used for. I am. I mean, I heard it was incredibly loosey-goosey, and I've also heard a lot of stories of towns using it for questionable projects. And I'm just shocked that now suddenly we have to be the ones to implement this.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'm a little crushed by it because we had such good momentum and everything was pointing to a yes, and we pulled some really hard. We took some really hard steps quickly to get this done. So
has this firm ever done work for other municipalities?
This company, yes, all the time.
Well then, I'm flabbergasted that suddenly our town has to impose this.
Well,
and is it our council who's imposing this?
She's just following the law of what's required, and so it's a legal recommendation. So we'll see what Mark and Melanie come up with and see if there's a way to work through this, because that's the point is asphalt engineering. I specifically asked them, have you worked with municipalities before? And you understand their contracting can be long and drawn out or very in depth with lots of requirements. She's like, yes, we do it all the time. So, and the experience I've had with them has been amazing. Like, talk about responsive quotes and available via phone and calling back and just very professional. Their quotes very professional. Everything's very detailed. We did have Beals and Thomas look at their quote to make sure it was satisfactory and met the requirements of the engineering plans. So,
well, it's just that the law is usually not the law.
It can be read and interpreted different ways. Exactly.
Right. I'm wondering if they could give us contact with another town who they did work for without this insurance and find out how they read the law.
Yeah, that's a good point, right?
Yeah, I mean, those are really great approaches and questions, and we're just out of time. Tomorrow's a half day for the town. I mean, I could spend another half day calling somebody. Yeah, I'm not. You're hearing disappointed. Like, I'm not downing the idea. I'm just done with the effort. We just need this to happen. So we'll see that maybe there's a way.
Well, we're not blaming you. We know it's all your fault, but we're not blaming you.
Indeed. So that's the paving part of it. The other part is, this is also catching you up, Tom, is when we were at the conference, we talked to the program administrator about the potential of extending the grant for a year. And without consequence. And he said, absolutely, it's built into the program that one can do that. You just need to submit an amendment. And we've had that signed and submitted. And they met this week, but the decision has not been reached. A decision hasn't been reached, but they think it's going to be fine. So we'll hear shortly. There'll be some contracting we need to do. And the reason we did that was because of the signage. When we were at the conference, they had a lot of good workshops on diversity and inclusion. And they talked about specifically Indigenous people of the land and, including them in how you're representing your trails and stuff and honoring them. And, it came to us that we have an opportunity with our interpretive signage. We talked about having a focus on the people who built the dam, the people who lived on the area of the Sudbury Reservoir before it was built. And this would be another opportunity to include going further back. I made an important contact with a person in Framingham who has did the interpretive signage in the same way, and they had a good person that was that had access to historical information and maps and such that we could get a hold of. So delaying the project allows us to have more time to make that connection, do the research, get our interpretive signage up and running, and more focus on an inclusive. So we don't have to stop with who settled the land, but who first settled it. You know, so that's the primary reason for the extension. So, so that's that. And we just received an email from Mark Purple. I'm just going to take a second to read it. Okay. We need to talk to the vendor tomorrow to figure out if we can, what they're going to recommend doing. But the town will not override the requirement. And just to reiterate, we need the paving to happen so that we can, you know, meet or match. So,
Well, okay, you say the town won't override the requirement, but I mean, the requirement is in the eyes of this particular lawyer we're using. And I guess, you know,
no, they're stating that that Massachusetts requires all LLCs, limited liability companies, to carry professional liability insurance.
well, if we have a chance, I would say we should ask this company how they've
I
dealt
will.
with other
I've already put a
municipalities.
call in. The decision came in after their hours, so I'll talk to the representative in the morning and see what we can do. And if they can do a like an add-on policy, and they have to do a pass through to the project, and we pay for that policy, because we've done that before consulting when specific insurance has been required and the town has to bear the burden. So or the you know, the client has to, or the vendor, whoever has to bear the burden of the to add the additional insurance. So
I am on my way to a first date.
So that's that. Any questions? I'll circle back. That's disappointing though. Okay. Next up is the phase 2. So we have good news here. So while we had a delay with the geotechnical company not having the equipment available for the borings, they have now been able to do the boring testing, which took place last Friday. So we were waiting on that as kind of like one of the final pieces to put together the design work for the bridge and the boardwalk. And so
when did they do the boring?
Last week. They did the boring last week. Yeah. So yeah, so that's good news. And then what that means is they'll be able to finalize their designs, and then they're going to be putting together the bid package. And so we should, in our next meeting, because I'll talk to Beals about what their timeline is and when we should release the bid. I want to be careful around the holiday. I don't want to, it may be more strategic to wait until January to post the bid after the holidays rather than do it in the middle of the holiday season, which, you know, takes out a couple weeks really of time that people are going to be collecting information and bidding. So that's good that that's moving forward. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else to report back on that piece. I don't think there is just yet. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Oh, you know what? There's also, yeah, so we need to talk about I guess we'll do it when we get to closing out outstanding projects. So the volunteer recruitment, I need to reach out to the individual that we had an inquiry, Tom, over the last couple of weeks. Someone had reached out about helping with trail work. So we weren't sure if they were interested in the committee or interested in just being volunteers. So we have to vet that out, or vet it, and just see what's going on. And I'll circle back with the committee next meeting. Closing out outstanding projects. So we have some decisions to make. We have another ARPA bucket, and the trail enhancements bucket. So I had included some quotes. So I want to talk to you guys about what we want to do. So let me pull up the email that I sent out. Okay, let's do a share. Can you see the quote that I have on the screen, Poly Products?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to do was put a few benches, and we had proposed one of our ARPA projects for trail enhancements to install some boardwalks, bridge, like a little wooden bridge in the town forest, and do some benches. So I found this really interesting company, Poly Products, out of Michigan. It's a small company, made in the U.S. products. So they Buy America protocol like approved, and they all of the products are made from recycled plastic. So it's kind of green, if you will. And they've really great. They're used to working with parks and recs and municipalities, and they have. So if you look them up, you can kind of check them out. They have an interesting donate a bench program that they work with different groups, towns, rec departments and stuff, where people can, if they're interested, would purchase through this program and then donate a bench to the Trails Committee. So it's kind of an interesting approach that they have there. So I have two quotes here. And so we, part of the decision to how much we're going to spend depended upon a Home Depot quote that I've put together for the boardwalks and stuff. So we'll talk about them in parallel. But the question on the table is how many we want to purchase. So this firm, and actually I can just give you a quick image of what they look like if I can get the internet back here. Let's see.
You're talking about Poly Products?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really? That's not what I put in. There we go. All right.
So the difference in these two quotes is 3 versus 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just see what I was looking at. Can you see my browser screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Specific. No, this one. Yeah. Okay. So the first proposal I have is this is an ADA backed bench with arms. And it's a little bit pricier because it is ADA compliant. It's 4 feet long. And I'm proposing that we purchase this one for the Peninsula Trail on our ADA trail, that we would just have this, at some appropriate location. So that's bench one. Any thoughts or questions? They're fairly easy to put together and fairly light. I talked to Sati about it, and I think the other 4 feet ones were about 48 pounds. So they're reasonable. We would have to assemble them, but as you can see, they're going to come with slats. They're very labeled. The base is cast iron. They'll last a long time. I've proposed a charcoal with a black base, and the charcoal color being a lighter color so that it's not dark black, so it doesn't get hot in the sun and is too warm too much. Okay, and then the other one. This is it. It's this one.
No hand rest.
Yeah. So this one, I'm proposing the same color to keep it matchy. It's like a charcoal on black, and this is cast iron and the recycled plastic pieces. And this is 48 pounds. So the question is whether we want 3 or 4 of these, I think. And so let me just make sure that's right. 1, 4, or
And
three.
the difference seems to be $500 about.
Yeah, it's 518 or 16 a bench, and plus $60. Did she include? Ooh, she did not, and that was my fault. I just didn't tell her to. We're going to include, so you can buy a anchor, like it's like an auger, like a screw that goes into the ground and attaches to the bench to help secure it for security. Those are $60 per. So we would have to add that up to for each of the benches. So that would be either 5 at 300, right, or 4 at 240. So we were kind of spitballing. If the ADA one goes on the Peninsula Trail, that's great. We could put one along the Bay Circuit Trail up off of Nichols and Clemens. Where else did we decide or talk about that, Sati? Let me see that.
Wasn't one by the reservoir?
Yeah, we did think about one for the reservoir. Yeah, there it is. Oh yeah, so one by 911 Loop, that was a definite. And then one maybe along, because we need to consider, we don't want to put them on a trail that needs to be mowed and that it becomes an obstacle to mow around or prevents it from being easily mowed. So one of the options is along the Sudbury Reservoir Trail, also Burroughs Loop, off of Route 30 and Framingham Road, that little where the Eagle Scout had put a map kiosk, that like along the power lines there. I think there's a nice little overlook that overlooks the water, and it's off the beaten, it's right off the trail, so it wouldn't be in the way of mowing, that we could do. So that if we did 911, that's 2 locations. So the question, actually 911, then 3 is Bay Circuit Trail. 1, 2, 3. And so the question is, we don't exactly know where a 4th one would go. If we have the funding, do we want to go ahead and buy a 4th one, and we can just kind of store it until we're ready to put it out?
I think we should do exactly that. That way there, we're not going back and purchasing later on. We'll definitely find a place for it.
I think we'll find a place. We just don't have to have it figured out just yet.
Yeah, I agree.
One question, and that would be, I noticed that the shipping on both of these quotes is the same.
Yeah, because it's the same truck. I mean, it's
okay.
They have to get it out. Yeah. And I'll talk to you about that because I have some information. So if we do, so then if we do the 4, it's going to be this 2,900 plus 300 for the auger.
Right.
No, we'll not need 4 August, right?
Yeah, just for 2,400, 240.
240.
Do we need 3 or 4 augers?
No, we'll need 4 because 4 benches are there, right?
Yeah, there's only 4 benches on this order.
Well, there are actually 5 because there's 4 standard and 1 ADA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
5.
So I did, yeah. So that's where the 300 comes.
Oh, okay.
And the augers are $60 a piece or whatever.
Yeah, it's an auger set, so it comes with a hook and things. And
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think having an extra bench wouldn't be bad.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 3,200. We have a low 7,000 to available for our funding. So we can go forward with that. So there's a question about lift gate truck or non-lift gate truck and delivery. So Sati and I also talked about this. So we were considering we could have it delivered right to the shed. But the problem with that is the cemetery roads cannot take a large truck. You can't get a big delivery truck back there. Those really narrow roadways and the turn radius isn't possible to really deliver big stuff back there. So I reached out to DPW to find out, do you have a loading dock? Because then we don't need a lift gate truck, which it costs about $150 more to have a lift gate truck. And would we be able to deliver it there in lieu of the cemetery for the reasons I outlined? And so Chris Leroy, Bill Cundiff had deferred to him, and Chris said, yes, we can. We don't have a loading dock, but we can accept the delivery, and we have a forklift, and we can get it off the truck. So that's
how much do these things weigh?
Individually, they weigh about 48 pounds. And so it will be 1 pallet's worth, she said.
Oh, okay. So you're saying it's gonna be about 300 pounds.
Yeah.
For the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So the idea is DPW doesn't have they don't have storage, right? So we would need to either meet them there that day to unload that pallet, separate it individually, and drive it to our shed and store it there. Or do it the next day. It depends on when. So they can, like a 24-hour period, we need to get in there, and we would need multiple of us to do it. So it's easier, lighter work per person. So,
and these benches, when they're disassembled, they don't take up the full space that they take up when they're assembled, right?
Right. They're just, you can imagine all the flat back.
Right. So in other words, they will fit into a relatively small car.
Yeah.
One at a time. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be able to make that work.
Okay.
So that's good. We don't have to spend the extra dollars on the truck, and they don't charge out-of-state tax to Massachusetts, so we don't have to worry about tax exempt. And they will work on a PO system, which is wonderful because they're used to working with municipalities, which means we'll get a PO set up, then issue the PO to them, and then we'll have 30 days to pay it. So. And they ship, it's a few weeks of shipping. So I'd like to make the order by Monday because, the accounting department is very interested in us spending the money now and or giving it back if we're not spending it. So that's the added pressure. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So let's do a vote since this is money not insignificant. Does someone want to make a motion that we will move forward with purchasing 5 benches from Poly Products for
with the addition of the augers.
With the addition of the augers, yeah.
And without getting a lift gate truck.
Yeah, it will be roughly 32. I'll say 32 to 3,500 just to cover any incidentals that we're not thinking about. So does someone want to make a motion to proceed with that purchase?
Can I ask one question before we do this, and that is, these benches are fine with respect to the the conservation people and the reservoir and all that stuff?
We've talked to DCR about putting in benches, and they were open to that concept.
Okay, and these are benches that don't disturb the ground more than they desire.
Just
right?
sitting on it. Yeah, we're not putting in stone. We're not putting in cement. We're not disturbing the ground. Yeah.
Okay. So.
Okay. Does someone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. Second.
I second.
Thank you, Will. All right, let's do a roll call. Satyana Sharma.
Yes.
Tom McCoolier.
Yes.
Will Warren.
Yes.
Kat McKee. Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. So this next one is a little more complicated. So I do appreciate your help with it. So I put this note here so I would know that it was changing. So basically our trail enhancements bucket of money was the initial project. I'll just remind us. We put together, like, it's a variety of things that we'd like to do. We'd like to buy some benches. We'd like to replace some boardwalks. We'd like to support the town forest. And there's a piece of plywood over a shallow indentation. We'd like to put a little, kind of a, calling it a bridge is overworked. It basically looks like this, right? So this is a piece of plywood that is currently over a shallow indentation in the ground. I'd like to put a firmer structure like a boardwalk on top of it. Okay. I'm calling it a bridge for lack of better words, but it really is a boardwalk.
Well, we'll just call it a crossing.
Crossing. Okay.
And this is for which trail?
This is in the town forest. Right. Yeah.
All right.
So the stewardship oversees that. I've already spoken with the stewardship on a number of occasions. I'm also a member of stewardship to see if they would be open to the Trails Committee buying supplies to do such a project.
And this is right next to Woodland.
Yeah, that's where the
Okay.
town forest is. We'd
Well,
still
there's a low place there which needs these things, right?
yeah, we would still have to go through the Conservation Commission, get permission and all that. But we're buying supplies first for that. This is a picture of the boardwalks along. This is next to the Fay Athletic Field, next to the footbridge there. So what you don't see in this picture is people have donated pallets and they're falling apart. So our objective is to replace this, make it safer. And but in a similar way, these are 6 by 4 foot long sections. So that's what I focused on, is sections of 6 foot boardwalks. So they could be mobile, they could be connected if you needed them to, or any number of things. So that's kind of how I approached the thought process around it. Then we have what's near the cemetery, near our shed, and this is a 6 by 3. So this gets really wet. But we do need to be considerate of these locations where we're putting in boardwalks for mowing, and whether they're mobile or whether they can be mowed around. So those are considerations too. Okay. And there's places in the town forest that currently have, there's a really wet trail that is, you just can't use it because it's so muddy. And the trail, the erosion on the trail is it can be more significant during those periods, more of an impact. And then the main section of the trail, what are we calling it? Bay Path Trail, it gets very wet in the spring and would benefit from some boardwalks. So it was, I've come up with a recommendation. I'll stop scrolling in a second. A recommendation of, I'm calling it a trail bridge, 8 foot by 4 foot. I measured, and I asked ChatGPT to help me come up with a supply list based on what we were going to do here. Then I recommended, based on measurements, this is
it's a 4 by 8 piece of sheet.
Yeah. So then I did 6 foot by 4 foot boardwalk sections. I'm recommending that we do 6 of these because we'll be able to put them not all in the same section. We'll be able to kind of put them in different sections as needed. So we'll have them on hand. So I'm looking for a supply list for that. And that includes the boards, the screws, the hardware, everything we need for that type of project. Then for these 6 by 3s, I'm recommending because the 3 foot is actually wide enough to be a safe walking boardwalk. These are not ADA compliant. The trails are not ADA compliant. So we are not following that because it doesn't make sense to. So the cemetery needs about 2 of these. The town forest, Huckleberry Way, could use 36 feet to 38 feet. So I chose 36. So I'm recommending 6 sections of 6 by 3s, and then Salamander Meander, another 6 by 6 by 3s. And by building 6 foot sections, it gives us some flexibility. We can put it in different locations as needed. Okay.
Is one of those ones in the town forest, those 2 trails, I don't remember the name. Is that the one where all the pallets are?
Yes.
Now it's all broken.
Yes,
I was just there.
Those pallets are broken down, dangerous.
Oh, I know they are. They're all broken.
Yeah, a volunteer brought them in. The volunteer did all that and it wasn't really approved. So we do need to work with the Conservation Commission, because the concept is we need any boardwalk that's put in. Well, one, it needs to be safe, but it needs to allow water underneath it, so you're not interrupting flow, and you need to allow light through so vegetation can grow, so you're not interrupting that type of thing, but you are trying to protect the trail. So we would work with the Conservation Commission before any of this is done or installed to make sure we're in compliance. So I went to Home Depot and there's one more thing. We have the phase 2 trail where we need bog bridges in between the boardwalk and the footbridge. That low-lying area gets very wet. So this is the town of Wellesley had a recommendation for a bog bridge. So I just used their specs and their list to help us kind of just get the core supplies that we need. So basically we're buying a lot of lumber, we're buying a lot of screws so that we can have, our scouts or our volunteers or us one day build some of this as we can. So it won't all be done at once, but we're buying the supplies because we have the funding now. So I lucked out the individual. So I go to Home Depot. The Pro Shop has a representative working the desk. His name is Mike. And turns out Mike is he works with Boy Scouts. He does trails projects. He builds boardwalks. He builds all sorts of things. And is if we had to have a contact, it's the perfect contact, right? So I sent him this write-up and I told him, I said, listen, we've got some knowledge gap here. I'm not a designer. I don't exactly know, but I need your expertise to help us figure out what we need for a number of boards, screws, all the above based on these designs, and anticipate some of the information from ChatGPT may be off because it doesn't always come back right. So can you help us with your guidance, with what figure this out? So he did. He figured out, and I'm asking Home Depot to cut the boards for us to size. So we'll have 6 foot and 4 foot and 3 foot boards, so that all of that is kind of just prepped and ready to go. And when we are ready, we just build right with our spec list. And the thing is, even if it's slightly different, even if we come up with a different design, we'll have all the materials to be able to work with enough, even if we needed to buy a little bit here, a little bit there to kind of pack, to round it out. So what I have to look at next is the quote from Home Depot. Okay. So he did also on occasion, he really thought through, you might need a few extra of this, few extra of that. He tried to understand what lengths we needed so we weren't wasting wood when they did cuts. So we may have some excess here, but it's not a bad thing. But he was really good about counting, making sure that things lined up. So he has put together this quote. The only, and so the total we have here is roughly 2,600. Again, this plus the 3,200, still we have enough in our budget for this to cover it.
Do we pay sales tax?
No, we would be working through the town's tax-free Home Depot account.
Okay, so that sales tax line would go away.
That would go away. Yeah.
Okay.
He wanted to get me a quote. And there's also, this doesn't include $79 for a delivery charge. So, this is just for our discussion and rough, just to kind of give us a sense. And so he had to talk to upper management to make sure they could do the cuts, because Home Depot will do cuts. But if you have a big job like that, they sometimes pull back a little bit. And so I just asked him if he would just ask them to be compassionate to a small Southborough town trail committee that could use some help. And so the one thing he did note is this 6x6 here, which I think was recommended for the bog bridge. He said they don't have a machine that will cut it. And that we could do, instead of that, we would want to do a 4x6. So I said, like this guy. So my recommendation is, if they can't cut it, we're going to have a hard time cutting it. So we might as well go ahead and get just a smaller board. It will serve the same purpose. So that will be something we update. Okay. And it's not going to be a perfect list, gravel. I estimated 6. We may not need all of that. But we do use gravel for post installs. So that's helpful to have, and we will use it over time. So it's not a bad thing to have on hand. Any thoughts or questions about this piece? This was tricky because it's a lot of guesstimate, and it's hard to do this many at one time. So we did the best, and he's really very patient and knowledgeable. So I was really grateful.
Do we get to go and pick out the lumber that they're going to use? No. The reason I ask is that, you're looking at some of these 4x6 by 12 foot things. Some of them are pretty torqued. They're
Yeah,
not
you know,
necessarily very
it's a really good,
rectilinear.
it's a good point, Will, and I'm going to make that recommendation, that request, because when we ordered 2 8-foot posts
Yeah.
not long ago, and I had them delivered, and they're really knotted up. Like there's part of it that's kind of like, I wouldn't have purchased that piece of wood if I had seen what it looked like. Do you know what I mean? I would have chosen
Yeah.
that one. So I think that's a really good point you bring up.
I mean, I'm more concerned that over the 12-foot length it twists, right, and it becomes difficult to then nail or attach things to it.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely make a request to have
Now,
good wood.
this order, how many was it? 4x6 sections is this come out to be?
4x6. So
Go back to your picture, the one that you showed through town of Wellesley or whichever town it was.
Yeah.
Because it's good. Yep. Right. So that's our building block, right?
That's for the bog bridge building.
Yeah, but a lot of the places where it's swampy and stuff, that's a good span, 7 feet.
Well, it's not going to be set. I think he went with 8. He's like 7 because you have to do with the natural cuts are 8 and 12 or.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
is this our building block? You have and ours is going to be 4x6s going, with the water is going to be going underneath it.
Yep.
And then we have an 8-footer in between, the top board, and then you have what you walk on. But
yeah, so instead of the 6x6, it would be a 4x6.
Yeah, but that's our
blueprint. Yep.
And how many of these are in that order?
I recommended 3 of these because I think because I think we estimated 2, but we get in.
No, I agree. I think we should do 2 or 3 to start off to make sure it is the right stuff. I think that's good. I like it.
Okay. Great.
That was my question. It's like, how many of these do we get to build? So 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 of these is what we had estimated. So
okay, no, that's good.
But the quote that you have here then is for 3 of these sections?
At least 3. Yeah. So this quote will build. Where is it?
Yeah, 3 of those. Oops.
It will build a lot more than that. It's going to build an 8x4 foot crossing. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. That's that build. Going back to your picture.
Yep. It's going to cross here, right?
Right.
And then this is going to build 6 sections of 6 foot by 4 foot boardwalk.
Okay, which is fine. That's fine. All that's fine.
It's also going to build 14 sections of 6x3s.
And that's all included in the $2,000?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, which is fine. I guess I was kind of weirded out when you started tossing around the number 3, but that's just sort of for us to build them to begin with or something?
So going back to your numbers, there's 14 sections that are 6x3.
Yep.
And then what was the other one? How many 6x4s or
6.
whatever? 6x4s.
Yeah.
But that picture with the plywood
that's just the crossing. That's just the one bridge. The crossing.
Yeah. That one, depending on what's really underneath, it could be a different. Yeah. Okay. So that's how many of these sections we can build.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it'll be a lot.
There'll be a lot, is right. There'll be a lot of lumber.
So can you just to once again to summarize?
Yeah.
Okay. How many 14 of what kind of what
6
size? 6x3.
Yep.
And how many 6x4?
6.
6. And then there's an 8 by something?
8x4.
1.
8x4? Yeah, just 1.
Okay. I'm perfectly down with that. That sounds good. And actually that price, I mean, if that's the price, that's not that bad. We're getting 21 things out of this.
Right.
Of various sizes. Yeah. And they're, like $100 a piece.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can do some on the in the end of ward. There's some places where we could probably put a 6x3 on the side and let them mow on the other side because it gets pretty wet, as we know.
Mm-hmm.
Along that trail.
Okay.
Yeah. So so then the question becomes that, so if we're good with that, it's a big commitment and we don't have to build it all next spring, right? We will stage our projects but we'll have to store it, right? So I asked him what he thought, because this is going to be cut. It's going to be a lot of lumber. It's going to be cut lumber, so it's short. 6 foot being the longest, right? But where are we going to put it all?
Couldn't
I think
it,
it could. Yeah, I think it could all fit in the shed.
I think it could fit in the shed too. I mean, you're gonna be
That too.
standing it up on its end, right?
Right.
No, it's gonna be lying flat.
It
I
might.
mean,
Well, whatever, but you know, it's, yeah, you could just do it in the
yeah,
shed.
I think the shed be able to hold a lot of that.
So we would have the same delivery questions and issues to work around. So I'll need to talk to DPW about, the little, once it's cut, because it'll take Home Depot a few weeks. They'll just do it over a span of time. We're not in a rush to get the materials. We just need to order
Well,
it.
we could, can't we tell Home Depot it has to be a pickup truck delivery?
Can we do that?
Yeah, because they have those rent me
Yeah.
trucks. And they're
For
just a
relatively
pickup
cheap,
with a
yeah.
bed in the back.
Yeah.
But do we rent? Are you saying we should rent it?
No. We tell them the delivery truck has to be,
Narrow.
Yeah,
one of
narrow
those
pickup
big
truck,
pickup
yeah.
trucks.
All right.
I guess the other question for Home Depot is, do you want them to put straps around pieces of wood of similar size so that instead of getting 1,000 pieces of wood individually, you're getting a chunk of, 10
Oh,
pieces?
that's right. That's how they deliver wood anyways, is they strap them.
They strap
Yeah,
them.
I think it's going to have an organization to it. So we'll have to, figure that out.
I mean, these are not huge pieces, and so even if they strap a number together, it's not going to be an unmanageable amount of weight.
Right. But he's like, I asked him how many pallets he thought it would be. He's like 3 or 4. And I was like, I thought that might be a lot. I mean, I trust him because he knows how this stuff works. So if it's 3 or 4 pallets, I mean, I don't know if that will fit. I mean, I guess they're not going to be super tall. I mean, we're
probably gonna have to, like the same thing, disassemble the pallets.
Yeah, we'll disassemble the pallets. Yeah.
So, and I need a backup plan just in case what we think is going to work doesn't work. Because if we get all this wood and we have everything and we have 4 pallets that we can't fit into the
Then
shed.
we put it right behind the shed. We tell the cemetery, we're just gonna store it, put a top over it, and then consume it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good, I
That's-
thought
I mean-
about renting a pod-ish.
I mean, it's lumber that's going to be in the weather anyway. So
Right.
Might as
And we
well
could
get
still
it
put a
there.
top over it for the
yeah,
winter.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's good. So then, okay, so if we're good with that, the other purchase I'd like to attempt to do is when we bought our shed, we just we didn't buy the ramp, right? And we have so there is a step, like it kind of just drops off. So if you're trying to roll, say we do have a mower, it's not in the shed now, but to roll a mower in there, it just requires a little bit more. The ramps are about 160, and from the skip shed, the same place we purchased.
How long are the ramps though? Because that shed is fairly close to the road.
No, there's enough room. It's set back far enough from the road to have a ramp. And it's made for the shed. So I went back to the original guy. I said, here's the thing. Can you recommend the 4-inch ramp? The 4-foot ramp is $175.
If we have enough clearance or enough setback, yeah, great.
Yeah. And so I asked him to help me understand how it's installed. He said they just lay on the ground and they don't attach to the shed. So they're like a triangle, right? And they ramp down and you just stick it there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's worthwhile? I've always felt like
as long as it's weather treated wood, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's built for the shed.
And I guess the other question would just be, is it going to interfere with mowing?
Well, I want it to.
Yes.
No, I just joke about that, but we have I want to show you something that I have to bring to DPW's attention.
Well, I'm thinking maybe, I mean, is there gravel where this ramp is going to be lying on top of?
Yes, you need a
There's a little bit of right. There's
Yeah.
a little bit of gravel around because they extended that beyond. So give me just a second. I just want to log in. Because we have to ask them. There's been some damage. Uh-oh. There we go. Hold on just a second. Oh dear, two-factor authentication's got me going. Okay. And
You have the requisite insurance to log into that site.
okay, here. Now I have to find Zoom. There you are. Now I have to minimize what you see so you can see this. Okay. Now I'll share screens. Okay. So this is a picture. Are you seeing a picture?
Oh, the
Yeah.
lawnmower hit it.
Yeah, I think it could be a weed whacker too. That's
Yep.
spitting up those rocks and hitting it the side, but I think it's cutting the edges of the
Siding.
This is
siding.
our shed?
This is our
Mhm.
shed, yeah.
Oh,
So it
my.
wasn't done intentionally, obviously. But we do need to just let DPW know that it's happening, because if it were to happen continuously, you're gonna eventually degrade the shed to a point of no
Yep.
return.
Well, shouldn't we put gravel around the shed so they don't get that close?
They're still gonna
There,
they're still gonna weed whack on it.
Yeah.
there is it might be more annoying, but they did put a nice base down for us, so there is some. You'll see the gravel kind of extends outside of the.
But it looks like the grass is growing right up to the side of the shed there.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'll let DPW know if they can just be careful of that. That would be great.
We can do some edging on the side before the season starts.
Yeah, but J&J just gonna come through and with the weed whacker guys, you see them all over town. They just do the same thing every day, every week.
Yeah. Okay, so let's make a motion. So I propose the committee commit. It's going to be roughly, I'm going to say a range of between 2,600 and 2,900, because this is going to vary a little bit depending on some of our changes we discussed, to purchase the lumber and hardware for the boardwalks that we've discussed.
Why don't we go up to 3,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
just say up to 3,000, no more than $3,000
Yep.
for the Southborough trails and the town forest.
Well, it's trails and town forest. Yes.
And no, I just want we should make sure that it's not just going on the Southborough trails, it's actually going on the town forest stuff.
Yeah, and town forest. Yeah. Yes. So does someone want to make a second?
I second.
Will. Okay, great. So let's do a roll call. Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Kat McKee, yes, and Will Warren.
Yes.
Yes, great. Motion passes. Thank you all. And then one last vote is to spend, I'm going to say it's going to be, so it's 175 for the ramp. So I don't think there'll be there. Yeah. So up to I'll say 200 just in case there's an extra, but I don't think there will be. Up to 200 to purchase the ramp that goes with the shed, a 4-foot ramp that goes with the shed out of the trail enhancements
Wow.
budget.
Yep. So moved.
Okay. And someone seconded?
I seconded.
Thank you. And roll call, Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Will Warren,
Yes.
Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
and Kat McKee. Yes. Great. Okay. So I think that brings us up. We may have like a couple thousand or less to give to have ARPA reallocate, or the select board reallocate from the ARPA bucket. So once we finalize these purchases, they'll be able to do that. I'm not sure what we're going to do about the paving. I need to talk to the vendor tomorrow and see what they can do, see what this means for the project.
I'm just concerned that we're getting a different legal read than other towns have gotten on this issue.
Yeah, it could be just dictated also by the ARPA audit and needing to have some different requirements because of that. So I'll look into it and see what we can do. But yeah, it's going to be a little tricky. Is there anything else on our agenda that I need to cover? Oh, the DOA work plan. Tom.
So what I did is I redid a lot of the trails since I've been going on them last weekend. So I promised to give it to you. Well, I'm gonna give it to you, Catherine, first for
Okay.
review, then it'll be there
Yeah.
for next meeting.
Great.
So yeah, so what I did is just for example, I did the ward, I call it the end of Ward Street along the aqueduct. And they used to mow going into the woods. They don't mow there anymore. You know, they would mow like it's like 20 or 30 yards.
Yeah.
They stopped mowing going up there.
Okay. So that's grown in.
So that's all grown in. So that's why I changed and I want to go through the whole town again.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to update it, because now, you know, all the mowing and stuff is done. So you can
Yeah.
tell what's not mowed and mowed consistently. So I always thought that one was done, but it wasn't. It was historically done, and now they stopped doing it.
Okay.
So what I trying to do, and it's all in Excel, is I put a comment in there and then I attach an image. So I take pictures.
Yeah.
So that way there, if they see it, it's like, what are you talking about? We want to do this. So
Yeah.
hopefully I'm not making it overly complicated or too fancy.
No, I think I appreciate your level of thinking about it. So thank you for taking the time on that. So we'll figure that out later.
Yeah.
Okay. So next up is just any committee business or trail butter. So we did get a report on people walking on the wrong side of the open channel along off of Linwood. So I put up I made sure one sign was secured and I added another sign that had been taken down that's near Beals Preserve. So it just says go that way, this side not permitted. So I took care of that. Did you were going to say something? Was it Will?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you had gotten your reimbursement for the Trails Conference.
I haven't, but did you submit it directly to Travis?
I did, yes.
Yeah, so you should. Did you get yours?
No.
Okay, yeah, it takes about a month or more. Yeah, it's not quick, but they'll get it to you. I haven't submitted mine yet because I've been doing a lot of the other stuff, so I'll get to it. They're not waiting on me or anything, so. But okay, so thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your help. We're so close to getting some of this behind us, which would be really great for a lot of reasons. That will be good. So let's talk next meeting, if you don't mind. So we've got Thanksgiving coming up. What date are we on? The 21st. We're not doing that. So December's holiday, right? So we should. Oh yeah. So a couple of the things that we should be turning our attention to is, well, one, the bid document will be coming out, so we'll have some news around that. But the signage, I'm going to reach out to our vendor, let her know where we are with that. So I need to make contact with the person that we're going to and start. We have a good kind of like a suggestion for our signage. Like we've talked about our topics, we've talked about some language. Now we need to kind of fine tune it and how we incorporate the Indigenous people aspect of it. So that I think we should start, trying to focus on that in December. In the way that we can, right? It's gonna obviously be a heavier lift in January, but I do want to get kick started so we don't lose our momentum. So in December, let me ask you a question about timing. I have a sense that we might want to meet on the 5th, a Thursday, if that works for this group, because we might have paving decisions or something to make, or we might have to give all the ARPA money back.
So that would be December 5th?
Yeah.
That sounds fine.
I'll not be around.
You're not?
No.
What's the date again?
Thursday the 5th.
Prim and
If that doesn't look good and it's not.
I mean, I have Tuesday through, Friday. I got some people coming in town.
Yep.
Work stuff. So, and I can't commit because we could be doing something on Thursday evening.
Yeah.
How about the week afterwards is looking better.
Yeah.
The 12th.
Oh, the 12th is looking better for me.
Okay.
The 12th is fine for me.
The 12th is good for all. So the select board is meeting on the 3rd. And they're going to, if we've not, they're going to need to reallocate money by then. So yeah, it's the best we can do. Let's do 12. Does that work for you, Sati?
Yes.
Can we do it at 7:30?
Yeah, 7:30.
All
I will send around an Outlook.
right.
And yeah, okay. There may be, I'll put it out there like this. There may be if we have to rush to a decision or I need a committee decision, I might have to call an ad hoc meeting. It might have to be in the morning. We might have to just do a quick something sometime to make a decision and vote. I hope that won't be the case, but I will reach out and let you know, and we'll do the best we can to make that happen if we need to do a quick meet. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I think thanks for everyone's time. I'll call the meeting, or does someone want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:41 p.m.?
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. Second.
Seconded.
Thank you. And roll call, Will Warren,
Aye.
Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
and Kat McKee. Yes. Okay. Motion carries. Thank you all. And I'll let you know how things go with the paving.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.